All right, thank you very much. All right, so the call to order the regular Tuesday night, or regular Tuesday, September 22nd council meeting. Brings us to item 8C, notice of motion from Councillor Barm. It's gonna be one of those nights. Notice of motion from Councillor Barnhart from about the Beaumont Welcome Services. So we'll allow Ms. Winter to introduce it, and then the floor is yours, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to members of council and the public. In accordance to the meeting procedures bylaw 974-20, once a notice of motion is made, it will be placed on the next regular council meeting agenda in which the elected official who made the notice of motion is present. At the September 8th, 2020 council meeting, Councillor Barnhart made the following notice of motion: that administration bring back for council's consideration prior to budget preparation a report on revitalizing a welcome service for newcomers to Beaumont. The report would include essential and optional components of the service, history of previous welcome wagon services in Beaumont, funding, partnerships, and benefits for residents and businesses. This evening, administration is looking at direction on how council wishes to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Barnhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm bringing forward this motion today on behalf of new residents who have become members of our community. Most of us have moved here from somewhere else and can probably agree that it was personal contact with other residents and businesses that helped us to feel a part of this community. In addition to schools and churches and social events, another way that we can build a connected community is through personal contact with individuals and businesses when they arrive in our city. That's why I've proposed that administration bring forward for council to review a history of the Welcome Wagon service that was in operation here for many years. The last 5 to 10 years have been very successful, thanks to a member of our audience, and the Welcome Wagon organization internationally has ceased, but the need may still continue. In May of this year, the mayor asked me to follow up with Michelle, who has been the face of Welcome Wagon, a well-known and well-respected, passionate supporter of Beaumont. I met with her, and we subsequently met with staff and a representative from the Beaumont Chamber of Commerce, and we explored opportunities to retain the benefits of this service. My motion today asks for information to be brought back to council outlining what this service could look like, what options there are, what would funding and partnerships look like, and how would it benefit residents and businesses. And I'd like that to come back before budget time.
Thank you very much. So I'll accept the motion as moved. Open it up for questions and debate from members of council. Okay, I for one will open it up. I'm struggling with this because I'm actually kind of very supportive of this type of thing. Where I'm struggling though is budget. We're coming into a budget where we're losing provincial grant dollars. There's pressure on us to keep it down. So I'd be interested in what other members of council thought about this particular motion and this particular item. Councillor Pamela.
Thank you, Your Worship. I share your comments on struggling with the idea. Conceptually, I think it's a good motion. I know Councillor Barnhart's heart is in the right place. This idea going forward. What I'm struggling with is Welcome Wagon service across Canada apparently has ceased, as we all are aware, despite great efforts in Beaumont and Alberta, but that organization has ceased to operate. And I don't honestly know if they were a business or a nonprofit, but either way, for some reason, COVID probably led, I'm assuming, as a primary reason, to put them in such a situation that to cancel the service. I'm not confident that it's our responsibility to use taxpayer dollars for administration resources and budgetary numbers to provide a service that was provided by the private sector, whether it was business or nonprofit, and they cease to exist. So why should it fall upon our shoulders to pick up that slack, if you will, and use taxpayer dollars to do that? So I'm struggling with that angle of it. I don't have a problem with the idea. Welcome Wagon has been around for a number of years. It's a great service, but it's no longer a service provided by the private sector. So I'm struggling with the idea of having it fall on the taxpayer shoulders to provide a similar service. Thank you.
Councillor Barnhart, followed by Councillor Van Newkirk.
If I may, Your Worship, just clarify for council that this motion is not asking council to make the decision at this point. It's asking the administration to bring back the information. At this point, I have no idea what it would cost to do a welcome service. And to your point, Councillor Danila, I am not at this point in any position to suggest that welcome wagon would be replicated here in Beaumont. There are parts of that service that might fit. There are certainly parts of it that were nationally done, and I think there are reasons why their model could not survive beyond COVID. And I mean, that's just me saying that. I think a report from administration could clarify what is the potential of this cost, and perhaps there's also a partnership here with the Beaumont Chamber of Commerce, which I happen to know is interested in looking at this as well. So in my estimation, this fits with our economic development priorities, and it fits with supporting businesses in our community as well as newcomers. So I'm sold on the idea, but in terms of what it costs and what the model would look like here in Beaumont, it might be a separate organization, separate from the city. But I think it's in the city's best interest to look into this further before we decide not to do it.
Councillor Van Newkirk.
A couple questions. I got one for Councillor Barnhart and then one for administration. Councillor Barnhart, I didn't catch the end of your statement regarding the timeline you were hoping. Would you be able to just restate the timeline you were hoping to get this back in?
I'm thinking information before budget time.
Okay.
And I think that might be October 6th, but I don't know. And if I could, just further to that, it's not that there hasn't been work done on this already. I do think the administration has some ideas of what this might cost us, or what models it might look like, because there were meetings held in the past few months. So there is some information already collected.
Yeah, the second question, maybe CIO, I suppose. What level of effort do you think would be required? Should this be passed, what level of effort would be required to do this? And would administration, in fact, have time to do this before budget? I'm concerned with how hard we're pushing administration on many fronts as we move forward, that the timeline might be a struggle. Just some comments there, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, through your worship, to Councillor Van Newkirk. Looking at the detail of the notice of motion, and it looks like it's quite an extensive report that's requested, including history and partnerships, benefits for residents, potential funding. And we are starting budget deliberations on October 6th. As I reported a week ago, we are going full out. And I know we had a fairly lengthy discussion on the last notice of motion. It's just getting very difficult to find resources, and this is very much a squeeze, to be perfectly frank.
Maybe a follow-up?
Follow-up?
Yeah, I'm supportive of the idea, and I like the idea. And I see some things that the municipality does already. And like Councillor Barnhart, I see opportunities for synergies with some of the groups in the community. And I'm just wondering, should we not support the notice of motion tonight based on timeline and timing? What might be a mechanism for this idea to not perish tonight? Like what other mechanism might we have to bring this idea forward again when because I fear the time crunch is actually going to be the problem to get the information before budget. I don't know if administration has any other ideas about when we might be able to bring up an idea like this to get some resources allocated to it. I suppose October 6th, it could come back and be spoke about in our budget preamble deliberations. But I don't know, Mayor, Admin, Councillor Barnhart, I'm just looking for some ideas around if this motion didn't pass tonight, how do we maybe not lose this idea?
Yeah, I share those concerns. I'll let the CEO answer in a few minutes. But I was wondering, like, our Chamber of Commerce is always looking for ways to partner with us. Perhaps they would take on the initial part of initial idea germination, and this perhaps will move a little slower than we would normally like. But I do agree we have some time pressures that our admin are moving through right now. Sorry, I was saying that I'm thinking that as I agree with Councillor Van Newkirk, I think our administration has some time pressures. Perhaps the Chamber of Commerce would take on the initial phases of this project to see if it's viable, if the businesses will support it and things like that. The process may move a little slower than we would like. Honestly, I think our business community is going to be key to supporting it. And I think that's not a bad place to start if it fails this evening. CAO?
Just to answer Councillor Van Nieuwkerk's question about when, I wouldn't be able to answer that until after budget and find out what's on our plate for 2021. As you know, we've had a lot of discussions about a lot of economic development activities that are going on, a lot of projects that are going on, and that could be ramped up or ramped down based on the budget. So right now, like I said, we're going full out and then some. I'll know more once we find out what the project plan looks like for next year.
Okay. Councillor Barnhart.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I appreciate the concerns about the timing. Perhaps I was too ambitious in what I expected the information so that council would have a full understanding of the service before it proceeded. I have to say I'm quite disappointed that the work that the community started and had staff work with us, with them, has gone nowhere, and we won't even see that report. I don't even know what the outcome of that was. I was personally invited by the mayor to participate in this, see what I could do to help. And at the meeting, the staff asked me to stay out of it. And so here we are today. I'm quite disappointed. Perhaps the timeline is too ambitious. End of the year might be better, but I don't think it should die today. I think this idea needs to continue. Thank you.
Oh. Councillor Margot Swain.
Yeah, thank you, Worship, and thanks, Councillor Barnhart, for bringing this forward. I generally struggle opposing notices of motion that come back forward with us. We're just looking for information. So I appreciate the way that you've worded this, Councillor Barnhart, in the sense that you're not asking us to commit to it, and similar to notices of motion that I've put forward in the past about bring information back and then we can make a decision. So I appreciate how you framed it. I too struggle with the timing of it all, but maybe I'll have a question for administration and a comment. I think a lot of focus has been around partnering with the Chamber of Commerce, and certainly that's one aspect to it. But it's not just a business initiative from my understanding. It's residents coming into the city, but helping drive participation in our school, in our programs that we have. We've obviously got great library programs and those sort of things, and so part of the service is just letting them know, connecting with FCSS, what type of things we have in the community. So I think all council is agreeing that this is something we need to look at. I guess the question back for administration would be, what are we doing something? Because I think technology can really help us out. I think previously, there was a lot of work gone into it. That a lot of face-to-face visits and all that sort of stuff. But what are we doing right now to be able to help new residents come as they arrive here to help them coordinate everything from whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, what businesses to use, but where the childcare things are, and what day is garbage, all that sort of stuff. So are we doing anything right now to kind of help residents?
CEO.
You mentioned a lot of our communications and social media information, so that's getting out there. Do we have a specific program that reaches out to new? I don't know that we do. FCSS may have some for certain parts of new people coming to the community, but no, I can't think of something specific that we're doing.
Councillor Van Nieuwkerk. Oh, sorry, follow up?
More just a comment, sorry, than anything. I get the intent here, and I guess where I struggle is, I generally like to support these notice of motions when they're asking for us for information on something that I think is of value to the city. Where I struggle is both administration sharing that, there's a lot on their plate prior to budget. And so we'll be interested to see if we can potentially amend this. Yeah, being prior to budget is certainly a concern, but definitely don't want to lose sight of the conversation, particularly, and I wasn't aware of all the work that had already been done on this front. So thanks for sharing that. So those are just my initial comments for now. Thank you.
Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, thank you. Looking kind of beyond the notice of motion and more about welcoming folks to our community. I see a lot of effort in different spots. We have our spring and fall awareness that brings together our user groups and some of the sports groups. We have website information and guidance. We had the BSA in front of us tonight, and they're a great resource in the community. We have FCSS with programs and support services. We have the Chamber of Commerce representing business and providing that conduit. And it almost feels like, maybe through a process of some continual improvement or a little bit of targeted effort around welcoming, that we might actually have a lot of the pieces here to strengthen the way that we welcome residents into Beaumont. And that's just a comment as I'm listening to the discussion happen here. And I know that doesn't speak directly to the motion where Councillor Barnhart is asking for a report to be brought back and what the history of the welcome wagon looks like and such. But it just looking beyond that to welcome residency, and it feels like we have a bunch of pieces there that might just need melding a little bit. So I just wanted to make that comment because I think that I'm generally hearing support for welcoming residents into the community and figuring out what that looks like and what it can continue to look like. But I'm not hearing maybe support for pulling the report together right now. So just my comments as I listen to the discussion.
Yeah, no, I'm getting the same things. I'm hearing support for the idea. Perhaps if we pushed it into next year, would council be supportive of that? Councillor Barnhart?
One last comment I'll make here, because I can see where the votes are. It seems to me quite clearly that it's the timing of this motion that has caused council some concern. Bringing it forward when we're just at the brink in terms of budget preparation. We've been asked to come back on October 6th as well and bring forward issues that we want to talk about. The struggle I'm having here is that the information that I need is not being given to me. And I find that abhorrent, honestly. Here's a councillor asking for information in order to make a reasonable budget request. I'm not saying we're voting on it tonight. I'm asking us to get the information so we can vote on it, on something. And I know staff have spent time on this already. So it's, with all due respect, CAO, it's not going to be that hard to get that information into a report. I know that for a fact, so I'll leave it at that.
Further discussion on the motion? Councillor Margot Swain.
Yeah, thanks, and I appreciate the passionate comments. What I don't want to have, because I think you've heard some comments concerned around the timeline, so I think you're there. What I don't want to see is just this to be defeated potentially, and then not have a kind of next steps. Or is there? I guess I don't know the background about what information you've been asked for, what you've asked for, and what you haven't got. I can't speak to that. Yeah. Is there a way to either adjust the motion, or do we talk about this during strategic planning? During the early parts of 2021. What I don't want to see is if there aren't 4 votes here today, then this motion dies, and then what happens, right? So I'm trying to, just before you call the vote, I'm just trying to make sure that there is a way that we can still have this conversation. So, you know, maybe amending the motion or further discussion. I'm not sure, but I guess one last ditch effort to not bring it back before budget, based on what everything is being shared, but to make sure that we don't lose the essence of this important piece in our community. So I'll pause there. I'll stop there, I should say, and see if anyone else wants to weigh in. And if not, then I guess we'll vote.
For me, it seems to be that the argument is mostly around timing. Councillor Barnhart, it is mostly around timing. If Councillor Barnhart was willing to amend her motion to be prior to the end of Q1 in 2021, I think it would see support, but I will leave it to my fellow councillors. Councillor Van Newkirk?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate my support for the idea, a concern for the timing, but also just to, you know, rehash what I said earlier is I think there's a whole bunch of pieces at play already that do a bunch of the things that we're wanting to do. So I don't know that it's as large a stretch as we might think going into the budget process this year to, you know, potentially allocate some resource to do something like that. And I know it has to be weighed against everything else that we're doing, but when council decides something is important and votes that way, then it can be done. So I definitely, if this motion is defeated tonight, I personally don't see that as the idea is over, right? Like similar to what Councillor Monkoff-Swain had said. So I would be looking for some ideas and places to bring the conversation back to life or keep it going is where my head would be at. So just enough for me. Thank you.
Councillor Barnhart?
To keep this alive, and the mayor and Councillor Van Newkirk and I think Councillor Monkoff-Swain, what you're saying is take the requirement to have this back by budget time out of the equation. I don't want to lose it either. So yes, but I don't know what time is the right time. I think again, I put forward that I think the information is there already. I know Ms. Garrett has the information in her head and she's willing to share most of that. The problem I'm having is that if we put it off beyond this year's budget and it comes back spring, it may still end up in 2021 budget. I can live with that. I mean, I don't think the service could start up right now with COVID anyway. And I think there's a limit to how much we can do right now. So preparing and having it come back later, if that will keep this moving and keep it alive, I will definitely make that amendment. Take out prior to budget preparation and just say, bring a report back.
Yeah, because budget does get approved in February, so there's opportunity to add then. And as we prove this year, we can make budget amendments as we go. So
at the risk of losing it entirely, I would make that amendment.
okay. Sorry, my computer lost its. Okay, so you're just willing to move, just so I'm clear on the motion, that administration bring back a report for council's consideration, a report on revitalizing the welcome service, et cetera. So you just want to remove prior to budget? You don't want to put end of Q1 or Q2 on it, just so that we have some way to track it? Councillor, nope. So I'm just saying, so I would put Q1 on it, but that's just me. Councillor Danlock?
Thank you, Worship. I would respectfully request my learned colleague, Councillor Barnhart, to maybe suggest end of the first quarter of 2021. I think that would be a reasonable time frame, and I feel comfortable moving forward on that basis for this evening. Give you some peace of mind for your motion, please. Thank you.
Thank you. That's 2. All right, Councilor Barnhart, I'm going to ask you to add quarter 2021, end of quarter 1, 2021. Thank you. All right, so the amended motion is as follows. The administration bring back for council's consideration prior to the end of quarter 1, 2021, a report on revitalizing a welcome service for newcomers to Beaumont. The report would include essential and optional components of the service, history of previous welcoming services in Beaumont, funding, partnerships, and benefits for residents and businesses. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Which brings us to item 9, bylaws. There are none. Councilors' inquiries and reports. Are there any members of council wishing to ask a question of administration this evening? Okay, Councilor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Through your worship to administration, I had received a inquiry from a resident regarding the current status of the flags at the BSRC. I did mention this to Mr. Suter today, and he said he would look into it, but I just wanted to bring awareness to administration that a resident had asked a question around the flags and specifically the heights that they're currently at. So just for public awareness on that, I wanted to share that with the rest of administration. Thank you.
CAO?
Sorry, was he expecting a response? That was just a comment.
It's comment. Sorry, we're into questions. Comments were coming. I thought, never mind. Councillor Hendricks, followed by Councillor Munkoff Swain, followed by Councillor Stowe.
Your worship, thank you. 2 comments. One is just on the sound in the space. I really have a tough time hearing you. I was trying to almost lip sync what was going on with Councillor Barnhart. It's really, really tough. So if there's some way to up our game that way, because by the time you get to this far at the end of the chamber, it's tough. It almost sounds like mumbling. So it'd be great if we could just have somebody look at it. The other question is the pictures, the former council pictures that used to be on the walls. Are they somewhere? Will they come back to life somewhere? Want to make sure that we haven't lost our heritage here from councils that go back to the 70s. So, thank you.
The pictures were put into an album, which we got, I don't know if we got the correct ones back or not. And then the actual pictures are just archived.
Yes, so the physical pictures are still here somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Munkoff Swain.
Thank you, and I won't take up the opportunity for a 1970s joke, so I'll pass on that one. But it was right there. No, I think it's important. I think it is important, and I do like the book that is in front of us. Quick update from me on the Transit Commission, the Regional Transit Commission, and so we did meet last Thursday, I want to say, and part of that discussion, it was a really positive discussion in terms of steps forward as a commission, and looks like we're getting positive signals from the province in terms of moving forward and actually implementing that commission, hopefully before the end of the year. And as per the plan, that would then follow up with subsequent engagement in 2021 with regards to route planning and that sort of thing. So just a quick update on that positive piece. The inquiry result is based on some feedback, and back in the summer, we had some obviously some really good discussion around topics of race and racism and Black Lives Matter and that sort of thing. And I know myself and many other councillors and had some good conversations with residents about what the city can and potentially should be doing in that space. Making sure that we're as welcoming as we can. And I guess my question is, how do we not lose sight of that conversation? aside from putting in a notice of motion and sitting around and talking about it, but there's some great ideas from the community that was being brought forward about ways we can engage different areas of our community, particularly the Black community. How do we have that conversation going forward? Yeah, like I said, lots of really good ideas, and I don't want that to be just a moment where we had good conversations and then nothing comes from it. So don't have a great plan. I just want to make sure we don't lose sight of those conversations.
CEO?
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Monkoff Swain, through your worship to Councillor. Kind of a coincidental question or comment. Yesterday, administration did its first session of equity, diversity, and inclusion training that we are going to include. We have another session on Thursday that's already triggered some ideas within admin and within FCSS of how do we continue to advance this and involve the community. And there were some really good conversations that happened yesterday. We are going to include council in that same training coming up here in Q3 or Q4 it looks like. I'm really confident it's not going to get lost. It's going to become part of our organizational values and what we do. And it'll evolve into involving the community as well. It was actually very good.
Okay, just a follow up then. So, appreciate the training is a great step and appreciate involving council in that. And maybe after the training, we sit down and facilitate a conversation about, what we think and what we learned and just a way of sharing ideas. And like I said, I don't have any great ideas, but a lot of residents came up and asked some really good questions and comments about how they think we could do better as a city. And so I'd like to create some way to create a space for that conversation. So just, I guess, take that under consideration and maybe we'll have a chat after the training.
And you mentioned a good vehicle earlier is we're reviewing council strategic plan right now, doing that virtually and through survey. We need to make sure that gets captured and that gets part of the plan. And it is indirectly, it's in your plan right now, but it's more general than it is specific. So maybe we make it more specific this time around.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. And for using my own point back at me, I appreciate that.
No, it was a great idea. It just, it
that's
come to me hearing what you're saying. That sounds like the right avenue to capture that.
Yeah, but I do agree that it is very, very general in our plan and well intentioned. But I think we need a bit more meat on the bone. So appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Councillor Stout.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to provide an update from the Leducan District Regional Waste Management Authority, shortly to become a commission, regarding the problem that they're having with the household organics being contaminated mostly with plastic waste, resulting in those things not being suitable for composting and not being accepted by the by the organization that does that, and the proposals from the authority stroke commission to remedy that. However, Ms. Winter advises me that will be added to an agenda on, was it the 29th? Thank you. So we can discuss it at that point in greater length, and I won't provide any more details unless you want me to.
I'm good. Unless other council wants to hear about it, but.
I'm sorry, say again?
I said, you sent a rather detailed email with it, so I'm good for tonight, unless other members of council want to ask some questions.
Very well.
All right, so I'm going to ask everybody to try and speak into their mics because I think that will help. All right, seeing no further requests to speak, go with the CAO update, item number 11.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Just going to get Shalane to help me out here. Just a few updates. One, while they're getting ready for that, talk about the September 29th meeting. There will be a special meeting called. There'll be two agenda items. One will be the the topic that Councillor Stout just talked about. The other will be the municipal stimulus fund projects that administration has identified. If you recall, our portion of the municipal stimulus fund is $2.3 million. There's a lot of criteria around these projects, and and admin will explain all of that on Tuesday, but that needs to be submitted by the end of next week. We're confident that what we're going to put in front of you is got the proper detail and checks all the boxes of the province, and then council can decide which projects we want to move forward. Wanted to provide just a couple updates, and I'm going to throw some pictures up here, but I know I'm making Ms. Winter move on the fly here. While she's doing that, just a reminder, the BSRC is open to the public effective September 28th. I know the councils of Beaumont and Leduc County did a tour this afternoon. I had a number of councillors from Leduc County text me afterwards and tell me how beautiful of a building it is, and it certainly is. Can't wait for the rest of the public to see it. The user groups have been in there since September 14th. And we've been a little lack on kicking people out for the last week and letting people come in and have a look around. And the people, they're breathless. It's a beautiful facility, nicer and fancier and just everything about it than I thought. And I know each of you have provided some comments to me indirectly. And Sam's daughter is loving the climbing wall already. Apparently, it is just packed. People are coming from everywhere to use it. So first hockey practice was there last night, and but Monday, it's wide open. So very, very excited about that, and stay tuned for more details on how we open that up under a COVID environment. And then I know there's a number of ideas that are being thrown around, and we'll get that sorted out here shortly. A couple other real positives in our community, if you're able to share, Shalene? What's that? She just got kicked out of Zoom. Okay. If she can get it back, and if she can't, I don't want to keep everybody going. As you saw, and I sent a copy of the CTV News release today about the 3D crosswalk that was put in yesterday. Getting good positive reviews so far. It looks completely different than the ones we did last year. ATS, Alberta Transportation Services, donated it, no cost to the taxpayer. It looks like it's something that can stay there, done more permanently, and it jumps. I drove by it today. It pops out at you when you're going south. It's a one directional, and that's in front of Beauval School. So pretty nice piece of work there. And the other is, an urge you to have a look. If I wish we could get the pictures up, but that's okay. Is the basketball court on the reservoir. You had a chance to have a look at it. It's fabulous. And today they painted the emblem. So we've got the three-colored emblem in the middle. We've got the city of Beaumont's name on the end. Bright blue just jumps out. I drove by it today, and a bunch of kids playing on it already, which probably not supposed to be, but it doesn't matter. Last touches will be the landscaping. That'll be done over the next few days. And then, yeah, there's the basketball court. Since that picture was taken, the emblem has been put in the center. So the three colors, and it really looks good. See what else we got. I think I got a couple pictures here of the basketball court, and then I think we have one of the 3D crosswalk. And just some good news stories. I'll just give Shalene a second here, unless you're locked up. Oh, it's new on your screen, but not ours. So while Shalene does that, I'm going to wrap up. That's what I had to pass along as far as updates for council. Thank you.
Appreciate that. There are no items of correspondence this evening. Is there a member of council wishing to make a notice of motion? Seeing none, there are no items for a closed session. And thank you very much for everybody's participation tonight. We had some good discussions. And we'll now call the Tuesday, September 22nd council meeting to a closed and be an adjournment.